Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling the core principles of personal finance, all sparked by the insights in the book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. We've got a stack of really practical ideas, some actionable steps, and, a few things that might just shift how you think about your money.
That's right. And look, for many people, the whole world of personal finance can feel, well, overwhelming, maybe even a bit intimidating.
Definitely.
So our goal with this deep dive is really to cut through all that noise and focus on what genuinely works. We want to offer you a clear path, a way to feeling confident and actually in control financially.
Exactly. And this book we're digging into, it comes highly recommended. You've got praise from people like Seth Godin, Penelope Trunk, J.D. Roth.
George Hoffheimer, too.
Right. And the themes that keep coming up are practicality, simplifying things, demystifying finance, and just getting real results for people, especially, in their 20s and beyond. The author even jokes about how surprisingly tough it was to write.
Yeah. So our mission today, it's pretty straightforward. We want to pull out the essential building blocks for, let's call it, a richer life. We're emphasizing strategies you can start using, like, right away.
Okay.
We'll be navigating key areas like smart saving, making intentional spending choices, understanding and managing credit effectively, and, taking those first steps into investing.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting right at the beginning. One of the first hurdles the book talks about is simply getting started. It points out how so many of us feel like we need everything perfect, every detail lined up before taking that first step.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the analogy it uses comparing it to making like a grilled cheese sandwich.
The grilled cheese, okay.
Right, you need to be some gourmet chef to make a decent grilled cheese, right? And, well, in the same way, you don't need to be a financial guru to start managing your money. The most important thing is just starting, taking that action, not having all the answers up front.
That makes a lot of sense. And it also touches on something really crucial. Personal responsibility. The book kind of pushes back against blaming, the economy or whatever for our financial situation. And it encourages focusing on what we can actually change.
It's a great point. If you think about other areas like diet or career, it's the same idea, isn't it? Taking ownership. It's about shifting focus from feeling like, oh, you're just a victim of circumstances to actively making choices that improve things.
And that leads straight into this really empowering core idea in the book that you can take control of your money. You can intentionally direct it where you want it to go, including, long-term growth, building wealth, no matter what the broader economy is doing.
And maybe that's something for you, the listener, to think about. How often do you feel like you're just reacting to your finances instead of proactively shaping them? That shift in mindset from passive to active, it's fundamental.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about an area where we have a lot of day-to-day control: spending. The book introduces this idea of conscious spending, and right away it kind of busts the myth that you need this super restrictive, joyless budget.
Yeah, and what's insightful there is the difference it draws between being cheap and being frugal.
Okay, explain that.
Well, being cheap might mean, sacrificing things you actually value just to save a few pennies. But being frugal, that's about making intentional choices, cutting back hard on things that don't really matter to you so you can spend generously on what does bring you satisfaction. Conscious spending is all about that intentionality.
And to make it practical, the book brings in the 4 buckets. Can you walk us through those quickly?
Sure. So bucket 1, fixed costs. These are your essentials, the recurring stuff: rent or mortgage, utilities, insurance, you know the drill.
Got it.
Bucket 2, savings. This is money for both shorter-term goals, maybe a vacation, a down payment, and longer-term needs like retirement. Bucket 3, investments. Money specifically set aside for growth over time, stocks, bonds, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And finally, bucket 4, guilt-free spending money. This is the fun money. The portion of your income you can spend on hobbies, eating out, whatever you enjoy without feeling bad about it.
That guilt-free spending bucket.
Yeah.
That sounds key to making this whole thing stick long-term. If you feel totally deprived, any plan is hard to follow, right?
Oh, absolutely. It acknowledges that enjoying your money is part of a rich life, too. The book also mentions the envelope system, as a sort of tangible tool to help manage that guilt-free spending, keep you within your limits for those discretionary categories.
And it's not just about cutting back, is it? I remember it also briefly touched on the other side, like increasing your income and handling unexpected stuff within this conscious spending idea.
Exactly. Managing your outflow is crucial, obviously, but actively looking for ways to boost your income, that gives you another really powerful lever to hit your financial goals faster. And having a little emergency fund tucked away in your savings bucket, that's key. So those unexpected bills don't completely derail your conscious spending plan.
All right, so we're getting a better handle on spending. What's next? The book really emphasizes this idea of saving while sleeping.
Ah, yes, this is where the magic of automation really comes in. The core idea here is setting up your accounts so they just work together smoothly, automatically, minimal ongoing effort needed from you.
And a big part of this is paying yourself first, right? Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Absolutely. Paying yourself first means prioritizing your savings and investments. You set up automatic transfers to happen before you even get a chance to spend that money elsewhere. It's about making sure a slice of every paycheck or whatever income goes straight towards your future financial well-being.
So practically speaking, what does this automated setup look like? What accounts are we talking about?
Well, the book recommends a pretty basic foundation. First, a no-fee checking account, probably at a local bank or credit union somewhere you can easily get at your day-to-day cash. And second, a high-yield online savings account. This is where your savings can earn significantly more interest than just sitting in a traditional bank account. The crucial next step is linking those two accounts.
And then the automation starts.
Precisely. You set up direct deposit from your job to go into your checking account. Then from there, you set up automatic bill payments, including your credit card bills, paid in full ideally to come straight out of that checking account. This makes sure your essential bills get paid on time, every single time, without you having to think about it.
What about bills that aren't so easy to automate, like maybe rent for some people?
Yeah, good question. For those, the book points to the bill pay feature that most checking accounts have online. It even has this funny little anecdote about Mildred still mailing rent checks.
Okay.
Basically, you can use your bank system to schedule checks to be printed and mailed out automatically on a recurring basis. Super useful.
That's a really handy tip. And I remember reading about this concept called the next $100. What's the thinking there?
The next $100 idea is simple, but pretty powerful for keeping that intentionality going. It just encourages you to consciously decide, okay, where is the next $100 I earn going to go?
Okay.
Is it going to boost investments, add to savings for a specific goal, maybe a bit extra for guilt-free spending? By thinking in these smaller chunks, you stay engaged with your money. It stops it from just kind of disappearing without you knowing where it went.
Okay, so we're automating things. Now we need to tackle something that can feel like a huge roadblock for a lot of people. Debt, especially credit card debt. The book calls crushing your debt a really vital step on its ladder of personal finance.
Yes, and what's really important is how the book acknowledges the emotional weight that often comes with debt, particularly credit card debt.
Yeah.
It gets that it can feel overwhelming, stressful, maybe even a bit shameful for people.
And it hammers home just how much managing debt impacts your overall financial health, especially your credit score.
That's right. The book points out that your payment history, that's the single biggest chunk, like 35% of your credit score. Just consistently paying your bills on time is the most critical thing you can possibly do for your creditworthiness.
Which makes total sense when you think about the cost of not paying on time, those late fees, the sky-high interest rates. They can really snowball, can't they?
Oh, absolutely. They can bury you. The book even gives you a surprisingly useful negotiation tactic for those times you might accidentally miss a payment. It literally gives you like a script for talking to a credit card rep to potentially get fees waived or avoid a negative mark.
That's incredibly practical, stuff most people probably don't know they can even try. Now, the book isn't totally anti-credit card, is it? It focuses more on using them responsibly.
Exactly. It encourages using credit cards strategically, maybe for points or rewards, but with this huge emphasis, you must pay the full balance every single month to avoid interest. It reminds you that typical APRs, the interest rates, are often around 14%, maybe higher, and late fees are about $35. Carrying a balance gets expensive fast.
It also gives some guidance on how many cards is reasonable, right?
Yeah, it suggests that maybe 2 or 3 credit cards is a pretty good rule of thumb for most people, though it notes the average American has something like 4.
Wow.
And it also reminds us that your score considers all your credit accounts, not just cards, but installment loans, like car loans, maybe even some utility payments, depending on reporting.
And there's some really key info about closing credit card accounts. I remember that being quite eye-opening.
Yes, this is important. What's fascinating is understanding how closing an account can actually affect your credit utilization rate. That's the percentage of your total available credit you're currently using.
Okay.
The book shows clearly how closing a card, especially if you still have balances on others, can suddenly make your utilization percentage jump up, which can actually lower your score.
Ah, I see.
However, it also clarifies if you pay down enough of your overall debt before closing an account, so your utilization ratio stays roughly the same, then closing the card might not hurt your score much or at all.
That's a really critical distinction. It kind of warns against getting hyper-focused on tiny savings, like clipping coupons, while ignoring the much bigger impact of having good credit.
Spot on. The benefits of a strong credit score go way beyond just avoiding fees. It means getting much better interest rates on big things like mortgages and car loans. That can save you literally tens of thousands of dollars over the years. It's huge.
And for people who are currently dealing with significant credit card debt, the book offers some hope, right? A path forward.
Absolutely. It really emphasizes that credit card debt is almost always manageable. It takes a plan, discipline, consistent action, but it can be overcome. The author even shares their own story of paying off college credit card debt, which makes it feel relatable and shows it's possible.
And what about those lucky folks with zero debt? Any special advice?
Yeah, a little perk for them. The book basically says if you have no outstanding debt, you've got more flexibility. You can generally close credit card accounts if you want to without worrying so much about messing up your utilization score.
Okay, we're making good progress here, getting that financial foundation solid. Now it's time to dig into something that feels pretty daunting for many: investing. The book makes a really bold statement right off the bat. Investing isn't only for rich people.
Yes, and what's so great about this section is the clear message. Investing is the single most effective way to build serious long-term wealth. And it's something you can and really should start doing, even with small amounts, like $50 to start.
And it really pushes automating your investments and focusing on asset allocation rather than trying to pick the next hot stock.
Yeah.
Which is tempting, but often doesn't work out.
Exactly. Automating takes the emotion out of it and ensures you're consistently investing over time through market ups and downs. And asset allocation, basically, how you split your money between different types of investments like stocks and bonds, that's way more important for your long-term results and managing risk than trying to find that one miracle stock.
The book is a big fan of index funds, isn't it? Can you explain why?
Yes, definitely. Index funds are presented as just a really straightforward, efficient way to invest. They basically just track a market index like the S&P 500, so you get instant, broad diversification across tons of companies, and crucially, at a very low cost.
Okay.
This is contrasted with actively managed mutual funds, where you have managers trying to beat the market, but they charge much higher fees for that attempt. The book mentions expense ratios, often between 1.5% to even 3%.
And historically, those actively managed funds often don't actually beat the market anyway, especially after fees.
That's a key takeaway. The data shows the vast majority of them fail to beat their benchmark index over the long haul, particularly once you factor in those higher costs. So you're often paying more for worse performance.
Investing can feel risky, though. That fear of the market going down is real for people. How does the book address that?
It acknowledges the fear, absolutely, but it emphasizes that over the long term, not investing actually costs you money because inflation eats away at your purchasing power. It even quotes Warren Buffett's famous advice: be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. The idea is that market downturns can actually be opportunities for long-term investors to buy more shares at lower prices.
And going back to asset allocation, you mentioned it's crucial. The book references a study about that, right?
Yes, the Brinson, Hood, and Biebauer study. It's pretty famous in finance. It basically found that over 90% of your portfolio's ups and downs, its volatility and returns, come down to your asset allocation decision, your mix of stocks, bonds, etc. It's far more impactful than picking individual stocks or trying to time the market.
So getting that mix right, your personal mix of stocks and bonds, that's fundamental for managing risk and hitting your goals.
Precisely. The book explains that bonds tend to act differently than stocks, often providing some stability when the stock market gets rocky. And then it introduces life cycle funds, or target date funds, as a really easy way for beginners to get started. Especially in retirement accounts like a Roth IRA. These funds automatically adjust the mix of stocks and bonds for you over time, becoming more conservative as you get closer to retirement.
And if you want to be a bit more hands-on with allocation, it mentions a specific model.
Yeah, just as an example of a successful approach, it mentions the Swenson model, which is used by Yale University's endowment. It's known for diversifying across a wider range of asset classes.
So for someone listening who's thinking, okay, I'm ready, How do I actually start investing? What's the first practical move?
The book recommends opening an investment account at a reputable discount brokerage. It names places like Vanguard, Schwab, T. Rowe Price as solid examples. The key first step isn't even picking investments yet. It's just getting the account open and putting some money in it.
And then you build a portfolio from there.
Exactly. The book suggests focusing initially on saving enough to meet the minimum investment for just one broad market index fund, maybe a total stock market fund or an S&P 500 fund.
Okay.
Once you hit that minimum, you make the purchase. Then, critically, you set up automatic monthly contributions to that fund. Then you can repeat the process, maybe adding an international index fund next, gradually building towards your target asset allocation. These funds are easy to find on those brokerage platforms.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork for investing. What about people who are feeling motivated? They're hungry for even more, as the book puts it. How do they optimize things further?
Yeah, the core idea there is just to encourage you to push beyond those initial savings goals. Don't just stop at saving, say, 10 or 15%. If you can, strive to save and invest as much as possible based on your situation.
Right.
This often means going back to that conscious spending plan and seeing where else you can maybe trim or redirect money towards your investments.
And that might involve looking at bigger financial moves, too.
Absolutely. Things like really negotiating hard on major purchases, a car, maybe even your house price or mortgage rate, and definitely looking for ways to increase your income, whether that's negotiating a raise or even finding a better paying job. Every extra bit you can invest makes a big difference over time.
Now, as these investments grow, things might get out of balance. The book talks about rebalancing. What's that about?
Right. Rebalancing is just periodically adjusting your portfolio to get it back to your original target mix. So, maybe stocks have had a great run and now make up 70% of your portfolio, but your target was 60%.
Okay, so how do you actually do it?
Well, the book suggests a practical way. If one area, like U.S. stocks in that example, has become overweighted, you could temporarily stop putting new money into it. Instead, you direct your new contributions towards the areas that are now underweighted, like maybe international stocks or bonds, until things get back closer to your target percentages. Many brokerages have tools now that help you see your allocation and make these tweaks fairly easily.
And it mentioned a one-pot solution for managing different accounts. That sounds useful if you have, say, a 401k and an IRA.
Yeah, it's a neat way to simplify things. Instead of trying to perfectly mirror your target allocation in every single account, which can be complicated, you just treat all your investment accounts like one big pot of money. Focus on hitting your overall target allocation across the total value. Then you can pick one account, maybe your taxable brokerage account, as the place where you make most of the rebalancing adjustments by buying or selling as needed.
This has been such a great breakdown of the core ideas. Yeah. As we kind of wrap up, the book's final section talks about a rich life. And it's clear it means more than just having a lot of money, right?
Exactly. That's a crucial point. The book really concludes by saying true wealth isn't just about the dollar amount. It's fundamentally about freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah, freedom from constantly worrying about money, freedom to pursue things you're interested in, passions, hobbies, without money being the main constraint holding you back.
So using money as a tool to live the life you actually want without that background hum of financial anxiety.
Spot on. And a key message is that by setting up this fairly simple, automated financial system we've been talking about, you actually create the space for that guilt-free spending we mentioned earlier.
Ah, right.
Because you've made the important decisions up front, you've put the structures in place, you know your future is being taken care of. So you can genuinely enjoy spending on the things you love without feeling bad about it.
This deep dive has really laid out some fundamental actionable steps for anyone looking to get a better handle on their finances.
It really has. We've covered, the importance of just getting started, the power of conscious spending, the huge benefits of automation, why managing credit, especially credit cards, is so critical, and the basics of getting started with investing using things like low-cost index funds.
And by taking these ideas to heart, implementing them in your own life, you, our listener, really can take control of your financial future and start building a richer life, however you define that for yourself.
So maybe here's a final thought for you to chew on. What is one small concrete action you could take, like today, to automate just one thing in your financial life? Maybe it's setting up that recurring transfer, even just $50 from your checking to a savings account. What difference could that one small automated step actually make over the next year?
That's a really powerful question to end on. And if this deep dive has sparked your interest and you want to explore any of these areas further, we definitely encourage you to revisit these concepts, maybe check out the book itself, and continue on your journey towards feeling more confident and, well, richer in your life.